Hi folks, this is Pete Lane. Welcome to the second installment in our series featuring Aira, the visual interpreter for the blind. In our previous installment, we chatted with Chancey Fleet and Aira User. Again today, we'll talk with Aira Users. Our guests, Nick Giudice, Michael Hingson, and some guest appearances from Cheryl Spencer. This is a 38-minute interview, so I will dispense with any additional introductory features that we often include in our podcasts. So without further ado, let's get right to our interview. And now let's meet our guests and hear a little bit about how they first learned about Aira.
My name is Nicholas Giudice. I am a professor at the University of Maine. I started actually not as a user. I was approached by Aira to be part of their scientific advisory board because of my research, which is dealing with developing information access technologies and blind navigation. I started in the scientific advisory board in 2015. And so I agreed, and this is a non-paid position, and I say this with all the the talks that I give on Aira. I give my name because I really believe in this product. I think it's really been great, but it's not something that, I'm just giving advice. Suman, the president and CEO, came and visited the lab, and we'd scheduled an hour meeting. I don't know, this was last spring at some point. I'd scheduled an hour, and we were going to meet, and we ended up meeting for 7 hours. I tried out the system, and I was kind of skeptical in the beginning. I played with a lot of different systems, and I just totally was on board. And so then ended up taking his glass that he had. We were just planning on talking. And then so I started then using that maybe last March and have used the service since.
I'm Mike Hingson. I started also working with Aira back in 2015. I was contacted by Lawrence Bach, who at that time was chair of the board and one of the chief people who helped Aira in finding financing. He's a blind guy down in San Diego. He sent me an email asking if I would consider joining the board. I had some conversations with him and Suman, and they came up to where I live in Victorville, California, to talk about the product, to show me the product, because from my perspective, having been a consumer and been involved in the assistive technology field in one way or another for many years, my belief is that the challenge that we have a lot of times with consumers and consumer products is that people say all sorts of things about how they've got the greatest things since sliced bread, and it really doesn't help blind people at all. Or philosophically, it just is too big of a problem to use it, and the cost just doesn't make it justifiable. Well, they came up and we talked, and they showed me the product in action. They brought some glasses, and I got very excited. But I did have the concern that the agents need to make sure that they, in turn, are really providing what blind people need. That is, what I saw in this product was an opportunity for a person to put on a pair of glasses, to speak to an agent and get a lot of information. But agents could do a lot of things that they shouldn't be doing. And that was what I was most concerned about addressing. Namely, what agents needed to do was to give data to people, but we as blind people needed to be able to interpret the data. We had to be the ones to draw the conclusion. So, for example, my favorite example in that regard is that when we come to a traffic light and we are waiting to cross the street, I might indeed ask the agent, is the light red or green? And I would do that in a very complex intersection where it's not easy to tell. What the agent should do is to tell me if the light is red or green. The agent should tell me if cars are going in the direction that I want to go. But the agent should never say, it's safe to cross the street, or it's okay for you to go. That's not their job, and I don't want that to be their job. They're providing information. They're not providing, I hate to use the word this way, but they're not providing help. They're providing information. Suman and Larry Bach accepted that, and we went forward from there. So I've worked some in helping to train the agents over the past 2 years, as well as using the glass myself. I've been using it now since probably it was in mid-2015. I think that a number of people on staff have been hired who are really getting it as to what the product has to do. So we're really excited about where it's going to go.
As you can hear, Nick and Mike got on board early on with the company, and actually, they both serve as consultants for Aira. But beyond that, they're still Aira users. Let's hear a little bit about how they use this product.
Primarily a dog user. I use the product in, I would say, 3 kind of applications. One of them is, I guess I would classify as kind of finding things or getting information about objects. So, maybe I can't seem to find something that I know is in the room and I placed it somewhere. I know I usually put it in the same place, but it's not there. Or is there a spot on this shirt or something like that? Another one is kind of information access in relation to reading. I travel quite a bit. So is this the shampoo or the hand soap? You mix that up, it's really not pleasant. Figuring out the temperature in the hotel room, or is my touchscreen oven really on 400? That type of thing. And for that, I honestly use the phone as much as I use the glass. And there's pros and cons to that. One of the challenges to using the phone is that it's difficult to frame the image if you can't see it. You're not getting a lot of feedback about that. And so that's really a beauty of a smart glass, is that it frames everything very well because it's head referenced. And so the agent knows exactly where you're looking. I find that particularly useful when traveling. So like I was in an airport last week and was looking for my gate and then looking for coffee. And so I was walking through and talking with the agent as I was walking and getting information about that. Challenges related to blindness are really about information access. It's not about blindness per se. And so the beauty of this type of service is that it is a way to get information that is fast and efficient, because there's lots of other services out there that do different types of things, but the importance of having a human in the loop is huge, and the importance of having a trained human in the loop is really important. So it's not just saying, go over there, which is not useful at all, but we all get those types of directions. Having someone that knows how to provide that information, and like Michael, I've been part of kind of the training protocol for that, and having a consistent way of getting information to the user that's fast and reliable is really critical, because a lot of times I could find what I'm looking for or use some AI-based service to do that, but if it takes 10 minutes and a bunch of different pictures because I have it oriented incorrectly, that's just not a good use of time. People don't appreciate the value of time and their time, and the beauty of this service is that it's providing information in a fast and efficient way, and I think that's hugely important for independence.
And the typical use case scenario?
I would say it's mostly the common things that I find absolutely the most helpful, the things that most people don't think about.
And the most unusual?
Unusual? The most unusual are probably the ones that are the most unseemly. Like I took the dog out, someone talked to me, I put the bag down, I was in New York, I had no idea where it was. I knew there was a pile of poop bags somewhere near me, and I couldn't find where, and I called up and Erin, this was early on, and I'm like, do you see a poop bag around? And she's like, a what? And sure enough, it was a little bit off to my right.
We live in a new house. It was a house that was built for us. My wife is in a wheelchair, so we built this house. It's completely accessible. We just got a fence up. The problem is that the backyard is not accessible yet to my wife. We have 2 dogs. My guide dog, I am a dog user also, and my guide dog's mother, who's also my wife's service dog. I need to make sure that the backyard is clear of things that the dogs aren't going to pick up, and as Nick will laugh, dogs do that. So I'm going to use Aira to patrol the yard, make sure that the yard is clear of landmines, as it were, so it's safe to be out there with the dogs. I could never do that any other way.
Here's Aira user Cheryl Spencer.
I had another opportunity to use my Aira glasses today. I ordered some groceries from Publix and they were delivered. And so when I took them out of the bags and put them on the counter, I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. So I kind of stacked all the things that I didn't know what it was. And then I went and got my glasses, turned them on, and connected to Amy. And she was delightful. She helped me and explained to me which package contained which item. So I was very, very happy.
Lots of just kind of inane thing, but some of the complicated things. I moved and I had a new cable service and I couldn't get my TV to work, and so I called up and had to go through all this programming. So via proxy, the agent's describing to me what they're seeing on the screen, what buttons I need to push, and we're walking through all these system states to get this thing programmed. And I was like, I don't know, this isn't going to work. And then by the end, everything was working perfectly. And I was like, yes! That's a very complicated multi-step process that involves not only seeing what's there, but then providing information. I need to be doing things, getting feedback. I've had a bunch of situations like that where I just otherwise would be very frustrated or having to wait for a friend or someone to come over and deal with it. And this was just a very efficient way to do it.
We bought a robot vacuum from a company called Rollytech. We bought it because although we get the house cleaned once a week, we've got to deal with things in between. I will use Aira this morning to put it together because I know that there are enough things involved in making this work that I'm not going to be able to figure out everything that I need.
I am aware that the explorers have unlimited access to agents during the exploration period, but I asked Nick and Mike if such detailed tasks as setting up somebody's cable equipment or assembling a robot vacuum cleaner might be a little too lengthy to be cost effective based on the data plans offered by Aira.
Actually, people can come on and do something that may take a lot of time. That's something that is available whenever to whoever. That's the whole point of the system. Now, the way the system is structured, there is a charge for using it. People do pay when they go over a certain amount of time, unless they're on the unlimited plan. And if they're on the unlimited plan, then it doesn't matter anyway. But there isn't a limitation on how long an agent will spend, but we are expected to try to be wise in our usage. But I've used Aira for an hour at a time. I agree with Nick. It's all about time management. Aira helps in so many ways to speed up processes that we otherwise might have real challenges to do ourselves or not be able to do it all. My favorite example in that regard is that I purchased a laundry cart last month and needed to assemble it. With my wife looking at the instructions, she said, these are all pictures and it's not really clear at all. This was like late at night and I said, okay, let's not do this now. In the middle of the night, I woke up and realized I can call Aira. The next morning, I did call up Aira and worked with Patrick. First time I'd worked with Patrick, and lo and behold, within, less than an hour, we had the cart completely assembled, up and running and doing exactly what it should do. I would never have been able to do that on my own. More important, Patrick was able to do some things to help the process, such as, in addition to looking at the instructions that I had on paper and taking pictures of those instructions so he had them right on his monitor at all times, he was able to use his agent dashboard to go online and find additional information that helped us in the assembling of the cart. And that is really pretty cool. The agents have a lot of tools available to them that are designed to help in the process of getting us what we need as quickly as possible. They can go online, and if, for example, we're working on a project or we're traveling somewhere, such as I did once going through Nashville Airport, in addition to what the agent saw, Aaron went online and pulled up a map of the airport to enhance getting me the information that I needed. It is really such a dramatically different kind of service that Aira brings. It truly is bringing eyesight into our lives in a way that no one else could, and the agents are learning as they go and as we go how to provide the information.
Good morning. My name is Mac Villarreal. I am the Director of User Engagement for Aira, and today we're here to deliver our very first Aira package. This is the first Aira customer. Her name is Sharon Watson. And by the way, it's also her birthday today. Good morning. So Sharon, here you go. I have a package right in front of me.
Oh yeah.
Here it is.
Oh my gosh.
That's it.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
So congratulations, we know. Happy birthday.
Thank
I think it's a good way to start your birthday.
Oh, it's a wonderful way to start my birthday. Oh my goodness. Oh, they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. It's so exciting. Oh my gosh. My sister called and now you're calling and they were just filming me opening my glasses. I have them on. They're so cute. They put them in a package with a bow and they're filming me opening them. And this is gonna make such a difference for me because I'll be able to find the places I need to go because they change. I'm so happy. I'm excited. I just feel so honored to be one of the first explorers.
A lot of times we're using the product or not using the product when we could use the product. I hadn't thought originally of using Aira to assemble this laundry cart.
Glass overview. The right side of glass contains the camera and buttons used to control the unit. A rectangular power button is found at the end of the right arm, on the edge that faces back.
And now let's drill down on some of the aspects of Aira that appeal to Mike and Nick, and what sets Aira apart from other apps which provide similar services.
We have been so used to using friends and colleagues and just waiting.
Yeah.
Now we don't need to do that. That's the whole point. The uses for Aira are as limitless as our imaginations, and if we just think of the ways that we could use it and start to use them, it will make life a lot better. I've been involved over the past many years with the Kurzweil reading machine, and then later the KNFB Reader, the app that now resides on an iPhone or an Android phone that allows people to read. Someone once said to me they liked the reader, they really were appreciative of it, but they didn't really realize how valuable it was to literally be able to pick up a camera, take a picture of a printed page anytime, anywhere. We don't think about it because it's not been in our psyches. Now with products like Aira, we can do that. All Aira is doing is providing us with information. And yes, it's eyesight and we're blind, but so what? It's all part of the same thing, and we should use the tools that are available that really make it possible for us to live our lives in a more meaningful and productive way.
How does Aira work? Aira combines multiple working components, mobile app, smart glasses, an agent, a dashboard to provide you with a service that will increase your mobility and independence by using information on your environment relayed from your smartphone into smart glass. Aira's trained agents, plus your friends and family, can walk you through any activity, all in real time.
And I think that one of the things, and Michael, I'd be interested in your opinions on this. If you think about, there's other solutions that are out there. And the elephant in the room for a lot of people that I've talked to is said, well, I don't want to pay for this.
Yeah.
And I think that the big deal is that paying for information is something we do all the time. You know, people do that with their cable. They do that for their cell phone. And I think blind people often don't think of it because, as Michael said, we're so used to waiting or asking people. And the ability to have something that you can independently get, something as simple as just knowing, is this package mine or is it the neighbor's? But it just makes everything more efficient, and it makes me at least, feel much more, not having to worry about what other people are doing. I know I can do it myself. I find it very empowering. And the advantage of, again, not just using a crowdsourced service. I've done a lot of work with language, and language is a beautiful thing, but it's very sloppy. And so,
especially
saying,
English.
Yeah, and saying, oh, it's near the door. Well, what does that mean? The dashboard has things about you, so it might know I like information in metric units, or I like clock face. I prefer people to be very clear, like move 3 inches, where some people might want a different way. But it has information about each user. You connect into a person, they'll say, hi, Nick, this is X. It makes you feel like there's a personal connection, and then they're giving information, as Michael said, not just about where you are, the Google map or whatever, but how you want that information. And I think that's a small thing that people may say, oh, well, whatever. But that is huge in getting something to be efficient. Where if you use some other service and you get just a random person and you have no idea how they're going to give information, it's hugely frustrating. Or if it's, as I said, an AI thing that's giving you a visual interpretation, that's cool, but it's not very efficient. And there are aspects of it. I mean, that's moving forward. That's where Aira wants to be able to, there's certain aspects where an agent doesn't really make sense, but are real practical problems. Like you go into the bathroom, where's the open urinal? Like my dog likes to go to full urinals because he likes people, but that's not very cool in the bathroom. And so if there could be some artificial intelligence that could help there, that could be a way to kind of integrate that into the Aira dashboard, into the dialogue system and everything. So I think there's some huge advantages to merging these technologies.
Aira is the first company that understands that what it's really about is how we provide the information, and that we need to provide it as information. There are some other services out there, some of which are apps that cost a little bit and some that don't. But in all cases, they're not using trained agents. And the absolute key to Aira is that the agents are hired specifically to do what they do. They're not just people sitting up in the cloud. They are hired and trained to provide information to us. Everybody's profiles are different, and Aira agents have that information. So even if we get a new agent that we've never met before, that agent knows a lot about us right up front. I think one of the areas that Aira might consider as we go forward is actually allowing us to create and be involved with, and maybe editing the profile and adding information as well, because I think we can contribute to that. And I think having access to that profile is something that users should be able to do. But we do each have a profile specifically for that purpose. We have all different kinds of needs. Some people don't want a lot of information. It's all about what the individual user wants, and Aira is putting that together in a great package. As Nick said, artificial intelligence is going to come along and will enhance the process, but as Aira creates an AI interface and automates some of the things that it does, the trick will be to make sure that the information gained by artificial intelligence and the computer will be presented in the same way that an agent would, so we get the same information. And that's going to be a trick, but that's part of what Aira is committed to do. And they have the staff at Aira to make that happen. It will be exciting to see how this progresses even over the next couple of years.
Now I know what all the buttons on my entertainment center are. It's a little 8-in-1 thing I've got. You can record from CDs, from record players. It's Bluetooth and it does all this and that. So now I know what all the buttons do as I recorded it on my Victor Stream.
A key point that Mike has made is that agents should be providing factual and objective information rather than judgments and opinions. A user who we spoke with and featured in our last podcast, Chancey Fleet, suggested that perhaps there be some dialogue to expand that as Aira develops in the future. Here's Chancey.
I never want unsolicited opinion. However, yesterday when I did those social media pictures, I asked the agent, there were 2 similar shots, which of these pictures do you think is a better one? And she said very diplomatically, I'll send them both to you. And I didn't push her on the point because I knew why. I knew what the training was. But I think as the service evolves, we should have a conversation about what we can do to signal that we want objectivity waived and to what extent the agents are comfortable with that. There's another service, which is a volunteer-powered service called Be Specular. I find this service empowering and awesome and charming in a totally different way because you can send out a picture and members of the community will weigh in and tell you exactly what they think about it. And so when I'm thinking about buying a piece of jewelry or clothing, or I'm wondering what to wear with what, I will send that question out to Be Specular. And it's always so much fun to get various responses and kind of puzzle them together into an informed decision that I'll make myself. And I hope that a future Aira will offer a similar experience in addition to the more objective information. Because let's face it, a lot of life is subjective and a lot of visual perception in particular is subjective. And the way that sighted people see the world, we want to understand it and we want to be informed by that perspective as well.
We asked Mike about that.
Yeah, I think that's different in one sense than what I was talking about, because what the Aira agents have to do is make sure that they're not just doing the usual thing that we tend to encounter when we're walking down the street or in a store and let me help you, let me get that for you, or whatever. I might very well be in a store and ask a clerk or even someone else, I've been known to do it, does this tie match? So I think it's okay for an agent to be involved in some of that on request, not automatically. I think that's partly the key. But I think we also do need to be very careful about it, that we're not doing something that diminishes or sacrifices my ability to draw that conclusion. So it's not good to say, well, this is red or this is green or this is blue, because there are so many shades of that. I don't see a problem with voicing an opinion from time to time on certain subjects, but I think that the agent has to be real careful that what the agent is not doing is becoming a crutch for a blind person. I think that's really the issue.
And as you pointed out, specifically in safety situations, crossing streets and whatnot.
We've got to make sure that we are using the product in a wise manner. In some cases, the agents end up having to make sure that they're wise enough to understand that we need to use it in a smart manner and that they have to keep us on the straight and narrow. But sure, if I'm in a store, for example, or when Patrick and I were assembling the laundry cart, I might very well say, is this straight? What do you think? Or whatever.
But of course, there's a lot of individual variability here.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that needs to still be figured out. So like I've talked to a lot of people and they've said, hey, I want to know if this shirt looks good on me. Well, what does that mean, right? I mean, that's a value judgment. And that's hard for the agent to answer. But on the other hand, a lot of people want to know things like that. So I think that's challenging. And I think some ways around that are saying, well, and I don't know how this gets into the dashboard, but what are other types of jewelry that you have, or what are other shirts that you have, so the agent can kind of have some metric. I think those types of subjective things are going to be things that come up a lot versus the safety issue, like Mike said. I mean, you should make the final decision to cross the street. That's a safety issue. It's also a legal issue. Ira doesn't want to be in the position of saying, yeah, we told you to go, you get hit by a car. Those are things that need to be thought out from their side of things. But the subjective side of this, I think, is important, and it is the one that's delicate. And I think this crutch issue is really important because there's a fine line between getting information and speeding a process and just being lazy and not doing things yourself that you could do. Who am I to say what that line is? But I think it's something to be cognizant of.
It's clear that the cost of Aira pricing plans is a deterrent for many blind individuals. We asked Nick and Mike to share their thoughts about the cost versus the benefit. But first, let's hear from Amy Bernal, Director of Aira Agents, about their current price plans.
Today, we offer 2 plans. The first is the Plus plan. It's $129 a month, and usually that's for 200 minutes a month, but for our Explorers, for the first 3 months, we bump that up. We double that to 400 minutes a month. There is a Pro plan, which is $199 a month, and normally that's 400 minutes. But for the first 3 months for our Explorers, we have unlimited minutes. You can call as many times as you want, as much as you want. And we also will look towards having some sort of, scheduling capability and reward program with that. And then we're also offering in the next week or so a basic plan, which would be $89 a month. And for those first 3 months, 200 minutes, and regularly 100 minutes a month. And that all includes the glass, the MiFi. If you were to lose your glass or have it stolen, we would ask for a $199 deductible, but we would then cover the rest of the cost and send you a new one. So kind of a worry-free insurance policy as well. And just so you know, we do allow minutes to roll over. Any minutes you don't use that month, roll over for 3 months. So let's say February, I have the 400 minutes and I only used 350. The 50 unused minutes would be good through March, April, May.
I'm just prefacing this by saying it's my opinion, and I'm on kind of more the scientific side of the house than the financial side. I think the goal is obviously to find different mechanisms to bring this down. So you could imagine a property that you go into the airport, and the airport ends up paying for this because it cuts down their cost of having, assistants that are doing meet and assists. So I think there's lots of ways that this could come down. But the bottom line is, as we've kind of been saying throughout this whole talk, this is information, and it's effective information. And what I think someone needs to ask themselves are, what is it worth to you to be able to get that information instead of waiting a day or being frustrated or, taking 20 minutes out of your day where you could do it in 50 seconds. I think there's a tendency to get stuck on the cost and saying, well, we have lots of other costs and we don't want another bill, and is this really necessary? Instead of thinking, how much is this actually improving my life? As I said earlier, we pay for so many other types of information. I pay $60 a month for my internet. There's lots of other things that I'm paying for that I just consider as, a cost of doing what I do. Aira is another way to kind of think of that. This is a cost of living in a way that's more effective, more efficient. As a blind user or a blind person, I can make it through my day without Aira. I don't want it to become a crutch, but on the other hand, it really just helps to make things more efficient. And to me, that's worth every penny that I would pay in many situations. If I'm going to miss my plane or I can get some help doing this in the airport, that's worth it. Like if that cost me a couple bucks, I don't know. I think that each person has to kind of come to this on their own, but I think getting hung up on the cost is sometimes kind of a starting point that people get to that we have to get past. Now, that also means that the agents need to be cognizant of that and, how do we most quickly get to the information that's at hand? There's this urge to kind of, you start to know them, you want to kind of chat a little bit, and that's not why they're there.
I agree. And the costs and so on are always a value judgment. But it's also true that Aira becomes an incremental cost over what it would cost us compared to other people to live in the world. And that does tend to make life a challenge for people, especially on low incomes. But it is a value judgment as to what's important. And as Nick said, being more efficient, getting things done in a quicker way, being able to manage my time in the best way possible, and doing something in 50 seconds that might take an hour otherwise is important to me and should be important to all of us, but we all make our own decisions. But we do get hung up on the cost thing. And sometimes it's because we have also gotten a number of services provided to us free of charge, and products have been bought by departments of rehabilitation and so on. And so we also get this feeling of entitlement, and that's not the way the world is. We do have to pay for things, but if I have access to whatever I want, when I want, where I want, and it's giving the information to me really how I want, I can't do any better than that, and I will take Aira any day.
I pay for an assistant to come and I do shopping with, and I do mail reading, and there's certain things I still do with them. But a lot of the things that I would do with them, I do with Aira, and that's, instead of paying $13 an hour to my assistant, that ends up being a cost savings.
I'm going to take them tomorrow because guess what? I am going to go to the vending machine and buy a snack out of the machine without anybody's help.
Currently, users have a couple of options as far as what device to use to connect to an Aira agent. First, there is the Glass. Aira is currently using Google Glass, which actually pairs via a Bluetooth signal to one's smartphone. The user contacts an Aira agent using an iOS or Android app on their smartphone. The agent can then pick up the video feed through the Google Glass. As an option, the user can connect directly to the Aira agent using the onboard camera on their smartphone. But we wanted to learn a little bit from Mike and Nick about connectivity, Wi-Fi signal, and where they see Aira going in the future.
Well, we're in a world where, although we're getting very well connected with cell phones, with Wi-Fi, and so on, there are places where we can't yet. It's not a perfect world. It will get better. Aira has made some partnerships with AT&T and is doing some other things that will help that process, but it's not a perfect world. And yes, it is possible, and we see the signal dropping. I can break Aira in Dallas-Fort Worth Airport without a great deal of difficulty in some places where we'll lose connectivity. On the other hand, Aira has a little bit of a redundancy in that if the glasses aren't working, I can also usually communicate with my cell phone, and I can hold up the cell phone, which I don't like to do because I want a hand free to pull luggage when I'm using a guide dog, but I do have a way to get some information when the Wi-Fi connectivity breaks. But I see that improving over time. It's going to improve for everyone, and we're going to be able to take advantage of that. With some of the things that Aira's doing, they're going to probably be giving us more quick access to improving some of those things than maybe sighted people will get just because of the partnerships. But that also is important for us as a matter of being able to have good quality of life and better quality of life. So I don't see it as a perfect world, but it's a pretty good world now, and it will improve.
And the other advantage, I think, moving forward is that we're currently using an incarnation of Google Glass, which is somewhat over-engineered for what it's doing and under-engineered for other aspects. So, that's built for having a visual display, which we don't need. But, it would be great if there's some fairly ineffective headphones there, but if there could be built-in kind of bone-conducting headphones, which would make it much easier. And then, in the future, I would like to see the headset itself not only be able to do quick transfer between Wi-Fi networks, but actually have cell service, so you could do it potentially without the phone. So, I think these, as Mike's saying, these types of connectivity issues are going to get better, and a lot of them aren't I was in New York City. My phone was dropping, and it wasn't Aira, it was my phone. And I'm just like, what?
And there are tall buildings, and all the metal are some of what causes that. One of the awkwardnesses of Aira right now is that it is a product that consists of two different devices that we have to get up and running before we can use it, a glass and a phone. There's a lot to manipulate. It will be good when everything can be in a glass, and the LTE chip for the phone is in the glass, and everything is in the glass, and there are good bone conducting headphones built into the glass, and that will happen. Right now, keep in mind, we're in the beginning of this product. Aira has been in existence now for 2 years, and we've only had Aira Explorers for about 5 months, and it is going to take some time to get it to be the most perfect thing that it can be, and it just isn't that way right out of the manufacturing bay.
It's early days for Aira. You got to remember this is a new company. They're bringing on their explorers a little bit at a time. They want to do this right. They want to do it the right way. There's going to be different programs rolled out. Who knows what's going to happen. I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to using the glasses more and more for more and more things. So it's pretty neat. I'm excited about the program.
And an ETA for the new version of the glass?
Hopefully sometime this year, but no
I think
specific
the end of the year.
ETA. Yeah, we'll see something. Aira's doing several things. It's looking at other commercially available glasses that might be more usable, and Aira is also looking at its own iteration of glass, and all those are just things that will come over time. I wouldn't tend to want to speculate too much because it's way too early. This is bleeding edge technology, and it's really exciting.
Cheryl Spencer.
I am sitting in the middle of a mall, the Avenues Mall, outside of a watch repair shop, waiting for them to put a battery in one of my talking watches. I went for a walk with one of the Aira agents earlier. She got me in trouble. Took me into Brookstone, and I ended up buying some stuff out of there. As I was walking down the mall, the agent saw a photo booth, and I thought, oh, cool. So I got in the photo booth, and she found the directions how to do it and everything. So I swiped my card, sat down, and it took 4 pictures of me and then printed it out. It was so cool. I've never done anything like that before. It was a lot of fun. So I'm just kind of chilling out, waiting for my watch to get done, and then I'm going to have Aira call an Uber and go home.
Mike and Nick have been involved with Aira for quite some time. Let's hear some final words on what Aira has meant to them.
This product has made me feel, I used the word empowered earlier, and I think that's an overused word in a lot of ways, but I would say it's valid with Aira in the sense that I can come into a new situation and know that there are going to be things that are going to not only be challenging, but otherwise would be impossible for me to do on my own. Again, they may be as simple as determining, the temperature in the room or using some device that has only a visual display. And knowing that, I'm going to run into that problem, but it's not going to be a challenge because I can call Aira, I can get a quick answer, and it's not going to be something that I need to spend a lot of time thinking about or dealing with. And for me, just having that peace of mind and also knowing that it can be done efficiently instead of having to figure out some other solution that may also work but would take 5 times as long and make me feel also like, oh, here's the blind guy needs help with something, which, it's fine to ask for help, but it's nice to be able to feel that I can do this on my own, independently and efficiently. That's a huge deal, I think, for me.
Like it or not, we all need help. And unfortunately, blind people looking for help tends to be very visible. The blind guy couldn't do it by themselves. Yeah, we'll turn the lights off, and the sighted guy can't do it for themselves either. I love to say in speeches that the electric light is just a reasonable accommodation for light-dependent people. In reality, we all use technology. We all need help. I think that as I view Aira in 2 or 3 years, it will be very different than it is today. It will be much more efficient. We'll have a much better equipped set of glasses that do more of what we want without all the trappings that we have today. There'll be so many different things. But today already, conceptually, it is doing so much for us by giving us the freedom to become more involved in taking the actions that we need to take in order to be productive. I could never do a lot of the things that Aira allows me to do, whether it's assembling that laundry cart to traveling to performing other tasks that happen to require eyesight. That's okay. But Aira makes it possible for me to do things that I never thought I'd be able to do independently and on my own. And for that, I'm very happy and I'm glad to use the system.
And then Jeff Thompson came out of the control room and the fun started.
This has been great sitting on the sideline here listening to all this. I was thinking, if there was a vending machine and something got hung up, would the agent help me shake the machine?
Well, the agent wouldn't be able to help you shake the machine, but the agent might tell you what's going on when you shake the machine.
They could keep a lookout for people coming down the hall.
There you go.
You could wear your glasses backwards, and the agent could be watching behind you while you shake the machine.
There you go.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
It's funny. A friend of mine was just onboarded last week, and she was looking forward to going into work and going into that snack room and actually using a vending machine by herself. She was so excited about that.
And that's really cool, because vending machines are very frustrating for us generally, because it's not only you want to use the machine, but you put your coin in and you make a selection only to find out that item was sold out.
Right.
There's so many ways where Aira's going to help us. I hate it when I select something and I know what the button is supposed to be to get the Hershey's Crackle or whatever, unless they've changed it. But it's not there because it's sold out, and I lose my whatever. I lose my buck.
I like to go in there and get a mystery snack. I just push random buttons. Usually it's fine, except sometimes it'll kick out gum.
Yeah.
And I'm like, looking for like a
lifesaver.
This concludes part 2 in our series on Aira. Special thanks to Nicholas Giudice, Michael Hingson, and Cheryl Spencer. In part 3, we'll meet Amy Bernal, director of the Aira Agents, and Patrick Lane, an Aira agent, and we'll hear the final perspective on Aira, the visual interpreter for the blind. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.
When we share
what we see through
each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
limited expectations and the reality of blind abilities.
The realities of blind abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities, download our app from the App Store, blindabilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.